Let's take a look at the guitar from a 30,000 foot overview. So what I mean by that is I really want to get across to you the things that you're going to be experiencing, the myths that many people believe, and that sort of thing, so that we can be ahead of what is about to happen with your experience on the guitar. See, a lot of people come into learning an instrument or learning anything with a bunch of preconceived notions. And unfortunately, because that's what's going on in their head, that is their belief system. So you can't, it's very hard to tell them otherwise, right? They're set down a path. So let's talk about those things that you're going to experience. When you're fretting, you're going to be experiencing some hand pain, or at least finger pain, right? The pain that you should be feeling is not intense. It shouldn't be intense. It should be more like if you were to go to the gym, work your muscles out a bit, and you're going to notice those muscles because they're not conditioned. So even though you're using your hand, right, you're pressing against those strings, there's going to be some bits and pieces that you're using in your hands, some muscles and ways that you're using your fingers that are going to be a little bit uncomfortable at first until, of course, you get used to that. You're going to be very inaccurate with your left hand. You're going to be very inaccurate with your right hand. That's why we're learning how to play guitar. And I know for many of you that seems like very common sense. But what happens inevitably, because I've seen it happen thousands of times to many, many students over the last few decades, is they believe that they're going to get better quicker than they actually are. Now, you can get very good very quickly at the guitar, but it does have everything to do with how much you practice, the types of practice that you do, et cetera, et cetera. So whatever you're putting into it is you're going to get out of it. And the best thing that I could advise you in regards to this is to just think about the guitar as a journey. It's not a destination. There's not a day where now you've mastered the guitar. When we talk about mastering the guitar, but it never actually happens. It's something that we're constantly striving for because it's a constantly moving goalpost. Where you want to be today is different than where you're going to want to be at tomorrow and a year from now and 10 years from now. So just understand that this is a journey. It's a marathon. And we just need to keep moving, okay? So you're going to have a little bit of finger pain as well. You're going to have to develop some calluses, and that just takes time. How long should that take? Well, it depends on how much you're practicing. It depends on how hard you're pressing down on those strings, etc. Okay, and how often you're practicing. So one can't say it's going to take this many days. It's just a process. So the best thing you can do is like literally just marinate in this process, have fun while you're doing it, and you're going to see the improvements as you go on. So I like to break guitar down into the left hand, the right hand, and theory. And what I mean by that is there are techniques that you're going to be doing with the left hand, or the fretting hand, let's call it, and there's going to be techniques that you're going to be doing with the picking hand, whether that's using a pick, whether that's finger picking. It's a separate technique that you're going to be doing over here. And then there's a separate technique that you're going to be doing over here. And then the two need to be synchronized. And I'm going to show you how to do all that gradually, right? Throughout the course. And then the other thing I like to think about is the theory, or the understanding of the instrument, understanding scales and chords and how they might work together, understanding the math that goes into this. Very simple math, but still understanding that math and how it pertains to what it is that we're doing here. So if you just think about that all the time, that you've got the left hand, the right hand, and you have theory, or your understanding, let's just call it the understanding of music, then you can isolate those things so that when you're melting down, when you're playing and you're just not getting it, you can say, okay, now wait a minute. Is it my fretting hand? Is it my picking hand? Or am I just not understanding the concept? Because usually it's going to be one of those things, usually not all three of those things at the same time, okay? Now, there are lots of myths and lots of excuses out there. So let's talk about some of those. Folks will say, I'm too young. They'll say, I'm too old. My hands are too small. My hands are too big. I have this problem with my hand, I have this problem with my mind, I just don't know, etc., etc. Now, you may right now you might say to yourself, Eric, I have a legitimate excuse and here it is. Everybody's excuse does feel legitimate to them. What I'm asking you to do and imploring you to do for your success, because your excuses don't hurt me, but they will hurt you. So what I'm doing is I'm asking you to maybe set those aside for a bit here and just believe in the things that I'm telling you here about your own unlimited abilities on this instrument and other things in life. Just understand that these excuses that you have, just lay them down and believe for the entirety of this course, and I promise you, you're going to see yourself excel beyond what you've ever imagined. I've seen young children play the guitar in great ways. Little fingers, little hands, little frames, yet they can still play the guitar. And this only comes through practice. So understand that your hands or your physical structure when you're starting to do this, whether you were born into a musical family, etc., are literally things that people typically just use as excuses. Set them aside. I can promise you that if you have a desire to play, you can do just about anything that you want to do on this instrument. And the only reason I say just about anything is because I know you don't believe that you can do anything, but I'll get you to believe it as we're going forward here, all right? So understand that your fingers are going to hurt. Understand that this is a process. We're in this for the long game. We're in this. It is a journey. Take your time. Have fun with this. Slow and steady wins the race. And I promise that the kind of practice and the amount of practice and how often you practice is going to have everything to do with your success. And your hand size or when you're coming to this has such a minute or absolutely no value whatsoever in your success or not your success. It has to do with your mindset and your practice. Let's dig in.